The sun was just rising and the forest was filled with soft golden light. Birds were singing and a cool breeze moved through the tall trees. Among the trees, a man named Ryan walked carefully on the narrow trail. He loved hiking because it made him feel free. He felt that every time he went into the woods, he discovered something new. Today, he had packed a small backpack with water, snacks, a flashlight, and a notebook. He had planned a long hike because he wanted to explore parts of the forest he had never seen before. The trail was quiet. Only the sound of his boots on the soft dirt could be heard. Ryan noticed the colors of the leaves. Some were green while others had already turned yellow and red. He smiled. Nature always gave him peace. But today he felt a strange excitement. He had no idea why, but something in the forest felt unusual. After walking for about an hour, he left the main path. He liked to explore hidden areas away from other hikers. He pushed through thick bushes and branches. His shirt got wet from dew, but he did not mind. Suddenly, he noticed something strange. In the distance, half hidden by trees and vines, was an old police car. Its paint had faded and rust covered the edges. The tires were flat and the windows were dirty. Ryan froze. How could a police car be here, deep in the woods? It looked as if it had been abandoned for many years. The license plate was barely visible and the siren on top was broken. Ryan's curiosity grew. He stepped closer. The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. The old car seemed out of place. He walked around it, looking at every detail. The car was a model from many years ago. Ryan guessed it had been left here at least 20 years ago. The doors were locked, but the windows were cracked. He could see inside. Through the dirt on the windshield, he saw old papers scattered on the seats. There were maps, notebooks, and some plastic bags. The car smelled old, but not like a forest. It smelled like something had been inside for a long time. Ryan wondered why no one had taken the car away. He thought about calling the police, but he decided first to look closer. He found a small opening in the back window. Carefully, he moved a branch and climbed closer. He looked inside. The front seats were dusty, but something on the passenger side caught his attention. It was a small box. It looked like it had been hidden under the seat. Ryan reached in and took it out. The box was heavy. It was old and covered in dust. He opened it slowly. Inside, there were photographs, old documents, and a small notebook. Ryan looked at the photos. They were black and white. Some showed people standing near the car. Others showed a house near the forest. He felt a strange connection to them. The people looked serious, almost worried. He opened the notebook. The pages were yellow with age, but the writing was clear. It looked like a journal. Ryan began reading. The first entry was dated 25 years ago. The writer spoke about strange events in the forest. They mentioned the police car and how it had been left there during an investigation. The writer's words were careful, almost secretive. Ryan felt his heart beat faster. He loved mysteries, and this one was real. He realized that whatever happened in the forest years ago had been hidden from everyone. He wondered why no one had discovered it before. He wanted to know the full story. He took a deep breath and read the next entry. It mentioned a missing person. A young man had disappeared near the forest. The police had investigated, but there were no answers. The notebook said the police had used this car as a temporary base while they searched the woods. Ryan felt chills. This car was part of a real investigation. He continued to read. The writer mentioned strange sounds at night, lights moving in the forest, and footprints that disappeared without explanation. The notebook also mentioned a person who had seen something unusual near the river. Ryan could not believe it. All these secrets had been forgotten, left to disappear with time. Ryan looked around the car again. He noticed more details he had missed before. The driver's seat had scratches as if someone had tried to leave quickly. The dashboard had papers stuck under it. He picked them up. They were police reports, old and brittle. Some reports mentioned the missing man. Others talked about an unknown person seen in the forest. Ryan felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The forest suddenly seemed larger, deeper, and more mysterious than before. He knew he had stumbled upon something important. He wanted to know everything, but he also felt the need to be careful. He did not know if someone still cared about the car or its secrets. He decided to take the notebook and photographs with him. He could not leave them here. They were important evidence of a story that had been forgotten. He carefully put them in his backpack. Then he looked at the car one last time. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Ryan felt as if the trees were watching him. He continued walking along the trail, holding the notebook close. He read more entries as he walked. Some entries mentioned a hidden cabin near the river. The writer had believed that the cabin held answers to the missing person case. Ryan felt a strong desire to find it. He knew it would not be easy. The forest was dense, and the cabin might be hard to find after so many years. As he walked deeper into the woods, the sunlight changed. Shadows grew longer and the air became cooler. Ryan felt the forest change around him. The sounds of birds were fewer. The wind moved through the trees differently. He remembered the notebook's warning about strange events in the forest. He did not believe in ghosts or magic, but he could not deny that something unusual was happening. Ryan stopped near a small stream. He drank water and rested for a few minutes. He looked at the notebook again. Some entries mentioned a map. He realized the map in the notebook might show where the hidden cabin was. He studied it carefully. The map was old and hand-drawn. The details were unclear, but he could recognize some landmarks. He decided to follow the map. It would take him off the main trail, but he felt ready. The mystery of the police car and the hidden cabin had captured his mind. He wanted to solve it. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped into the deeper forest, following the path on the old map. Hours passed as he walked. The forest became thicker and the sun began to set. Ryan did not feel afraid, but he stayed alert. Every sound seemed louder, every shadow moved differently. He remembered the notebook's warnings and kept his flashlight ready. Finally, he reached a small clearing. The trees opened up to show an area that looked untouched for years. In the middle of the clearing, he saw a small wooden cabin. It was old and covered with moss. The windows were broken and the door hung on its hinges. Ryan's heart raced. He had found the cabin mentioned in the notebook. He walked slowly toward it, careful not to make noise. The cabin felt alive with secrets. Ryan could almost feel the history inside. He knew that whatever was inside the cabin might explain everything about the old police car and the missing man. Ryan took another deep breath. He touched the door and pushed it slowly. It creaked loudly, but it opened. The inside was dark, dusty, and filled with old furniture. He could see papers and boxes stacked in corners. He turned on his flashlight and looked around. Something moved in the corner of the cabin. Ryan froze. He could not see clearly, but he felt that he was not alone. The forest had hidden its secrets for years, and now Ryan had found them. Whatever was in this cabin would change everything he knew about the forest and the old police car. He stepped inside carefully, holding the notebook tightly. His adventure had just begun. Ryan's flashlight cut through the darkness of the cabin. Dust floated in the air, and the smell of old wood and damp paper filled his nose. He stepped carefully over broken floorboards, noticing that some of them creaked loudly under his weight. Every sound in the cabin seemed louder than usual. The walls were covered with peeling wallpaper, and the ceiling had dark spots from years of water damage. He looked at the stacks of boxes in the corners. Some were small, some large. They were filled with papers, notebooks, and old photographs. It was clear that the cabin had not been touched for a long time. Ryan's heart raced with excitement. He had found something very important. He knew that the information here could explain everything about the police car in the woods and the missing man. He started with the closest box. It was covered in dust and a small spider scuttled across the top. Ryan shook it off carefully. Inside, he found folders full of old police reports. Many were related to the missing person mentioned in the notebook he had found in the car. Some reports had names of officers, dates, and descriptions of searches. Ryan could not believe how much information had been forgotten. One folder caught his attention. It contained handwritten notes from a police officer. The notes described strange events in the forest. The officer wrote about footprints that disappeared, strange lights moving between the trees at night, and sounds that could not be explained. Ryan read the notes slowly, trying to understand what had happened. The officer seemed scared but determined to find the truth. He moved to another box. This one contained photographs. They were old, black and white, and some were faded. Ryan studied them carefully. Some photos showed the missing man near the forest. Others showed people standing around the police car. One photograph showed the cabin from the outside. It looked almost the same as it did now, except newer. Ryan realized that the cabin had been part of the investigation for a long time. As he continued exploring, Ryan found a small desk pushed against the wall. On the desk there was a notebook. This one was different from the one in the police car. It looked like a personal journal. The first pages were filled with a man's handwriting. The man wrote about his life and how he had worked on the missing person case. He mentioned that he had discovered something unusual in the forest, something that did not make sense. Ryan read the journal carefully. The man wrote about a hidden path near the river. He believed that the path led to a secret area where important evidence could be found. The man had written that he could not tell anyone because he was afraid people would not believe him. Ryan felt a chill. The forest had always been mysterious, but now he understood that people had hidden secrets for years. He turned the page and found a map drawn by the man. It was old and slightly torn, but the details were clear. The map showed the cabin, the river, and a path leading deeper into the forest. Small marks on the map indicated places where the man had found evidence. Ryan realized that following this map could uncover the truth about the missing man and the strange events mentioned in the notebook and photographs. Ryan took a deep breath. He felt a mix of excitement and fear. He had found the police car in the cabin, but now he had a map that could lead him to the next step. He knew he had to be careful. The forest was dense and the path was not clear. He put the journal, photographs, and map into his backpack. He decided to explore the path tomorrow. Tonight he would stay near the cabin and rest. He noticed an old fireplace in the corner of the cabin. The ashes were cold, but some logs looked recently moved. Ryan wondered if someone had been here not long ago. He could not see any footprints clearly, but the ground was soft from fallen leaves. He felt a strange sensation, as if the forest itself was watching him. Ryan found a small bed in the corner. It was covered with an old blanket that smelled of dust and damp. He decided to sleep here for the night. Before lying down, he looked at the forest through the broken window. The moon was rising, casting silver light on the trees. Shadows moved in strange shapes, and the wind whispered through the branches. He felt that the forest was alive with memories and secrets waiting to be uncovered. As he drifted to sleep, he thought about the missing man and the police officer's journal. Why had the man disappeared? What had the officer seen in the forest that made him afraid to tell anyone? Ryan's mind raced with questions. He knew that the next day would bring answers, but he also felt that danger might be nearby. The next morning, the sun rose slowly, filling the cabin with light. Ryan packed his things carefully. He checked the map once more. The path leading from the river looked overgrown, but he could make out landmarks from the journal. He felt ready for the journey. His heart was full of curiosity and determination. He stepped outside the cabin. The forest was alive with morning sounds. Birds chirped, leaves rustled, and small animals moved quietly in the undergrowth. Ryan followed the path indicated on the map. It was narrow and hidden, covered by roots and fallen branches. He had to move carefully, but he felt a sense of purpose. After walking for some time, Ryan reached the river mentioned in the journal. The water was clear and cold. He knelt and touched the surface. The river was calm, but it seemed deeper than it should be. He noticed footprints near the edge of the riverbank. They were old, faded, but some looked newer. Ryan felt a thrill. Someone had been here, and maybe they had followed the same path. He continued along the river, following the map. Trees grew closer together, and the forest became darker. He could hear the sound of the river flowing over rocks. Occasionally, he saw markings on the trees. They matched the symbols drawn on the journal map. Ryan realized that he was on the right path. After a while, he reached a small clearing. In the middle of the clearing was a large rock formation. The journal mentioned rocks near the secret area. Ryan examined the rocks carefully. There was a small opening behind one of them. It was just large enough for a person to enter. Ryan felt his heart race. This must be the hidden area described in the journal. He moved closer and shined his flashlight inside the opening. It was dark, but he could see boxes and bags stacked neatly. Ryan stepped inside slowly. The air was musty and cold. He saw papers, photographs, and other items. Many of them looked like evidence from the old police investigation. He realized that someone had hidden all this here to keep it safe. Ryan opened one of the boxes. Inside, he found letters and documents that explained the missing person case. The letters were written by people involved in the investigation. They mentioned strange events, unusual sightings, and people who had disappeared. Ryan read carefully. The information was shocking. The forest had hidden more secrets than he could have imagined. He found an old key inside another box. The journal mentioned a locked chest that contained the most important evidence. Ryan realized that this key might open it. He looked around the hidden area. Everything seemed to be waiting for him to uncover the truth. He felt a mix of excitement and fear. He knew that what he would find next could change everything about the old police car, the missing man, and the mysterious events in the forest. Ryan took a deep breath. He packed the key, letters, and documents into his backpack. He looked at the hidden area one last time. The forest outside was calm, but he knew that secrets were still waiting to be discovered. He followed the path back toward the cabin, planning his next steps carefully. As he walked, he thought about the police car in the woods. That car had been forgotten, but now it seemed connected to all the hidden evidence he had found. Ryan realized that he was uncovering a story that had been buried for decades. He felt determined to find the truth, no matter how long it took. By the time Ryan returned to the cabin, the sun was setting. The forest glowed with warm colors and shadows stretched long across the ground. He placed the documents and key on the desk inside the cabin. Tomorrow he would continue his search. The hidden area near the river had given him hope and answers, but it had also raised more questions. Ryan sat near the window and looked out at the forest. He felt a strong connection to the missing man, the police officer, and the people who had tried to uncover the truth. He knew that the forest had kept its secrets well, but now he was part of the story. Whatever was hidden in the forest, he was determined to find it and reveal it to the world. He stayed awake for a long time, planning his next steps. The hidden area had given him clues, but he felt that the most important discoveries were still ahead. He could feel it in the quiet of the forest, in the rustle of leaves, and in the whispers of the wind. The forest had a story to tell, and Ryan was ready to listen. The next morning, Ryan woke up with the sun shining through the broken windows of the cabin. He felt the excitement of discovery deep in his chest. The hidden area near the river had given him clues, but now he was ready to take the next step. Today he planned to find the locked chest mentioned in the journal. He believed it contained the most important evidence about the missing man and the strange events in the forest. After a quick breakfast of bread and fruit, Ryan packed his backpack carefully. He made sure the old key was safe in his pocket. The journal, photographs, and letters from the hidden area were in his bag. He checked the flashlight and other supplies. Then he stepped outside. The forest was quiet and the air was fresh. Birds flew overhead and the wind moved gently through the trees. Ryan followed the path from the river back to the rock formation where the hidden area was located. When he arrived, he felt a sense of awe. The entrance to the hidden space looked small and uninviting, but he knew it held decades of secrets. He knelt and shone his flashlight inside. The boxes and papers were exactly where he had left them the day before. Carefully, he moved aside a few boxes to make space to search. He had to be careful not to disturb anything too much. Every item could hold an important clue. Ryan searched through the papers and letters, hoping to find more hints about the locked chest. Most of the documents were old police reports and personal notes, but one letter stood out. It was written by the same officer who had documented the strange events years ago. The letter mentioned a chest hidden under a pile of rocks near the back of the hidden space. It said the chest contained evidence that could solve the mystery of the missing man and explain what had been happening in the forest. Ryan's hands trembled with anticipation. He had found the chest. Carefully, he moved aside the larger rocks. His flashlight revealed a wooden chest, old but sturdy. The chest had a metal lock, and Ryan felt a surge of excitement. He took the key from his pocket. It was small and worn, but he hoped it would work. He inserted the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. With a deep breath, he turned the key and lifted the lid. The chest creaked loudly, but nothing fell out. Inside, Ryan saw papers, photographs, and a small box. He reached in and pulled out the items one by one. The papers were reports and letters, carefully preserved. Some were written by police officers, others by local people who had witnessed unusual events in the forest. Ryan noticed that many of the documents mentioned the same strange lights and unexplained footprints described in the notebook and journal. He opened the small box inside the chest. It contained personal items. There was a watch, a necklace, and a folded piece of cloth. Ryan recognized them from the photographs in the police car. These must have belonged to the missing man. The thought made his heart ache. He could feel the importance of these items. They were pieces of a story that had been hidden for years. Ryan sat on the ground and began organizing the documents and items. He carefully examined each one. One letter described a strange encounter near the river. The writer said that they had seen a figure moving quickly through the trees, almost invisible in the shadows. The letter also mentioned that the figure had disappeared near the hidden cabin. Ryan realized that the events recorded in the forest were connected. Everything, the police car, the missing man, the hidden cabin, and now the chest, was part of the same mystery. He noticed another photograph in the chest. It showed the missing man standing near the river, looking frightened. Behind him there was a shadowy figure in the trees. Ryan felt a chill. He could not see clearly who or what it was, but it matched the descriptions in the letters and journal. The forest had hidden a secret that no one had been able to uncover for years. Ryan decided to explore the hidden area further. He wanted to understand why these events had been kept secret. He carefully placed the chest and documents in his backpack. The items were heavy, but he knew he could not leave them behind. He wanted to uncover the full story, even if it meant going deeper into the forest than he had ever gone before. As he walked back toward the cabin, he noticed changes in the forest. The trees seemed taller and the shadows longer. The air felt cooler, and the sounds of birds and animals were fewer. He felt that something was different today. The forest seemed more alive, almost aware of his presence. Ryan reminded himself to stay focused. He had to keep his mind on the task, not on fear. Back at the cabin, Ryan spread out the documents on the desk. He began to read them in detail. One report mentioned a hidden network of paths in the forest. The officer had written that these paths led to areas where unusual events were most likely to occur. Ryan studied the hand-drawn maps carefully. He realized that following these paths could reveal more evidence about the missing man and the mysterious figure seen in the forest. The journal mentioned a safe place where evidence was hidden. Ryan now understood that the hidden area near the river and the chest were part of this plan. Someone had wanted to protect the evidence, keeping it safe from those who might destroy it or ignore it. Ryan felt a deep respect for the person who had hidden everything. They had trusted that one day someone would find the truth. Ryan spent the rest of the day organizing the documents. He made notes in his own notebook, summarizing what he had discovered. He realized that the mystery was bigger than he had first thought. The missing man's story, the police car, the hidden cabin, and the strange events in the forest were all connected. Each clue led to another, and Ryan felt that he was only beginning to understand the full picture. As evening approached, Ryan prepared for the night. He placed the documents in a safe corner of the cabin and checked his supplies. He wanted to rest but also planned for the next day. He had to follow the paths mentioned in the reports and journal. The forest still held secrets, and he knew that answers were waiting for him. Before sleeping, Ryan looked out the window. The forest was quiet, bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. He could see the trees swaying gently, and the shadows growing longer. He thought about the missing man and the strange events recorded in the documents. He felt a strong connection to the past, as if he had been brought to this forest for a reason. Ryan lay down on the old bed, thinking about the day's discoveries. The chest had been a breakthrough, and the items inside were more important than he had imagined. He knew that the next day would bring new challenges. The forest had kept its secrets well, but he was determined to uncover the truth. As he closed his eyes, he felt a sense of purpose. The forest was full of mysteries, but Ryan was ready. He would follow the paths, examine the evidence, and uncover the story that had been hidden for decades. The missing man's story was waiting, and Ryan had the key to reveal it. The forest whispered softly around the cabin, and Ryan knew that his journey was far from over. He had found the chest, the hidden items, and the clues, but the answers were still out there, waiting in the shadows. The forest had chosen him to uncover its secrets, and he would not let it down. The next morning, Ryan woke to the soft sound of birds singing. The cabin was quiet except for the rustle of leaves outside. He packed his backpack carefully. The chest and documents from the hidden area near the river were secure inside. Today he planned to follow the hidden paths described in the reports and journal. He hoped that these paths would lead him to answers about the missing man and the mysterious events in the forest. Ryan stepped outside. The morning air was fresh and cool. The sun shone through the trees, casting a warm glow on the forest floor. He followed the path leading from the cabin to the river, and then to the first landmark indicated on the journal's map. The forest seemed peaceful, but Ryan felt a strange sense of anticipation. He knew that the hidden paths were not ordinary trails. They were overgrown and forgotten, and he had to pay close attention to the journal's instructions. After walking for some time, he reached a narrow opening between two large trees. The journal described this as the entrance to the first hidden path. Ryan pushed aside thick branches and stepped carefully. The path was uneven, covered with roots and fallen leaves. He had to move slowly, but he felt a thrill of excitement. Every step took him deeper into the forest and closer to the secrets he sought. As he walked, he noticed small markings on the trees. They were carved long ago, almost invisible under the moss. Ryan recognized them from the journal. They guided him along the correct path. He felt grateful for the careful notes left by the officer and the missing man's connections. Someone had planned for the future, leaving clues for anyone brave enough to follow. The path became narrower and darker. The forest canopy blocked most of the sunlight. Ryan switched on his flashlight and moved carefully. He heard the soft sound of water flowing nearby. The journal mentioned that some hidden paths led close to small streams and rivers. Ryan followed the sound and soon found a tiny stream, almost hidden by rocks and bushes. He knelt to drink some water and rested for a few minutes. Suddenly, he noticed footprints near the stream. They were small and fresh. Ryan froze. Someone had been here recently. His heart raced, but he stayed calm. He realized that he was not the only one following these hidden paths. Whoever had left the footprints might be looking for the same secrets. Ryan decided to continue cautiously, keeping his eyes and ears open. The path led him through thick underbrush and over fallen trees. At times, Ryan had to crawl under branches or step carefully over roots. The forest grew denser and the air became cooler. Shadows stretched across the ground, making the surroundings feel mysterious and alive. He remembered the journal's warnings about strange events in the forest. He did not believe in magic, but he could not deny that the forest had a strange presence. After walking for hours, Ryan reached a clearing. It was small but open, with sunlight streaming down. In the middle, he saw a stone marker. The journal had mentioned a series of markers along the hidden paths. Ryan examined the stone carefully. There was a small symbol carved on it, almost hidden by moss. He compared it with the journal and confirmed that he was on the right track. Ryan moved past the clearing and continued on the path. The forest grew darker again and the trees crowded closer together. He noticed more strange signs along the way. Broken branches that seemed deliberately cut, unusual scratches on tree trunks, and stones placed in small piles. The journal had mentioned that the paths were marked by people who wanted to protect the secrets. Ryan realized that these signs were guiding him, just as they had guided others before him. As he walked, he heard a soft rustling behind him. He turned quickly, shining his flashlight, but saw nothing. The sound stopped as suddenly as it had started. Ryan's heart beat faster, but he reminded himself to stay calm. The forest could make noises that were hard to explain. He continued along the path, careful not to make too much noise himself. Eventually, he reached a large oak tree described in the journal. The tree was unusual, with deep grooves running along its trunk. According to the journal, the chest containing the most important evidence had been hidden nearby. Ryan felt a rush of excitement. He examined the area around the tree and noticed a small depression in the ground, partly covered by leaves and moss. He knelt down and brushed the leaves aside. Beneath them was a wooden trapdoor hidden almost perfectly. Ryan carefully lifted it and saw a small underground space. Inside there were more boxes and papers as well as a small metal container. His hands trembled as he reached for the container. It was locked, but he had the key he had found in the chest at the hidden area near the river. Ryan inserted the key and turned it. The lock clicked open. Inside the container, he found a collection of items carefully preserved. There were photographs, letters, and personal belongings. One photograph showed the missing man standing near the forest, smiling but looking nervous. Another photograph showed a figure standing behind the man, almost hidden in the shadows. Ryan's heart raced. This confirmed what he had already suspected. Someone or something had been watching. The letters in the container were written by people who had been involved in the investigation. They described strange occurrences in the forest, footprints that appeared and disappeared, strange lights moving between the trees, and sounds that could not be explained. One letter mentioned that the missing man had discovered something unusual and had planned to hide evidence to protect it. Ryan realized that the forest had been keeping secrets for a long time, and now he was uncovering them. He carefully packed the items into his backpack. The weight was heavy, but Ryan did not mind. Every piece of evidence brought him closer to understanding the full story. He studied the underground space one last time, noticing a small notebook tucked in the corner. It contained more details about the missing man's last days. Ryan read it quickly. The notebook mentioned a hidden location where the missing man had left final instructions. Ryan felt a mixture of excitement and determination. He knew he was close to the truth. The forest had been a puzzle for decades, and he was putting the pieces together. He climbed out of the underground space and replaced the trapdoor carefully, making sure it looked undisturbed. Then he continued along the hidden path, following the instructions in the journal and notebook. The forest seemed to change as he walked. The air felt cooler and the shadows shifted around him. He noticed more signs along the path. Small piles of stones, carved symbols on trees, and broken branches arranged in patterns. These were clues left for anyone determined to uncover the secrets. Ryan felt a deep respect for the people who had marked the path before him. They had trusted that someone would find the truth one day. As the sun began to set, Ryan reached another clearing. This one was larger and open, with a view of the distant hills. He paused to rest and looked at the forest around him. The hidden paths had led him far from the cabin and police car. He realized that the forest was vast, full of secrets waiting to be discovered. The chest, underground container, and hidden paths were only part of the story. Ryan studied the map and journal once more. According to the notes, he was close to the final location mentioned by the missing man. This place held the ultimate answers about the forest and the strange events that had occurred. Ryan's heart beat faster. He knew the next steps would be critical. He needed to be careful, but he also felt ready. As night fell, he set up a small camp near the clearing. He built a fire and sat beside it, reviewing the documents and photographs. The forest around him was quiet except for the occasional rustle of leaves. Ryan felt a connection to the missing man, the officers, and everyone who had tried to uncover the forest's secrets. He was part of their story now. Ryan stayed awake late into the night, planning his next move. The hidden paths had revealed so much, but he knew the ultimate answers were still ahead. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The forest had been mysterious for decades, but soon, everything would come to light. With the stars shining above, Ryan felt determined. He would follow the last clues and uncover the truth behind the old police car, the missing man, and the strange events in the forest. The journey was far from over, but he was ready for what lay ahead. Ryan woke early, feeling the crisp air of the forest on his face. The night had been quiet, but his mind was busy with thoughts about the final destination described in the journal and notebook. He packed his backpack carefully, making sure the chest, documents, photographs, and key were all secure. Today, he would finally reach the place where the missing man had hidden the ultimate answers. He followed the last path described in the journal. The forest was dense and the sunlight barely reached the ground. Ryan walked slowly, paying attention to the small clues left behind. Carved symbols on trees, stone markers, and small piles of rocks guided him forward. Every step brought him closer to the truth, and he felt both excitement and a growing tension. After walking for hours, Ryan reached a clearing. It was larger than the previous ones and seemed almost untouched by time. In the middle of the clearing was a small abandoned cabin. It looked older than the first cabin he had found. The roof sagged, and the wooden walls were covered with moss. Ryan realized that this must be the final location mentioned in the missing man's notebook. He approached carefully. The cabin door was closed but not locked. Ryan pushed it open slowly. Inside, dust filled the air and old furniture stood silently. The cabin had clearly been abandoned for years, but it had not been empty. Papers, boxes, and a small chest sat in the corner. Ryan's heart raced. He had found the place where the missing man had left his final clues. He stepped inside and examined the chest. It was smaller than the one at the hidden area near the river, but seemed important. Ryan inserted the key he had found earlier. The lock clicked open and he lifted the lid. Inside he found several items: letters, photographs, a small notebook, and a bundle of objects wrapped in cloth. He carefully unfolded the cloth and saw personal belongings that must have belonged to the missing man. There was a watch, a small journal, and a folded piece of paper. Ryan opened the small notebook first. It contained the final words of the missing man. He read slowly, absorbing every sentence. The man had written about strange events in the forest, about lights and sounds that could not be explained. He described how he had discovered evidence that someone had tried to hide, and he feared that powerful people might not want the truth to be revealed. Ryan felt a chill. The missing man had worked carefully, leaving clues for anyone brave enough to follow. The folded piece of paper was a map, different from the others. It showed a location deeper in the forest marked with an X. The missing man had written instructions to reach a place where the most important evidence was hidden. Ryan realized that the journey was not over. The final location would reveal everything. He studied the map and followed the instructions. The path was narrow and overgrown, but the landmarks were clear. A large oak tree, a small stream, and a rock formation guided him. The forest felt alive, almost as if it knew he was searching for the truth. Ryan stayed alert, remembering the strange sounds and footprints he had seen before. Finally, he reached the marked location. It was a small cave hidden behind thick bushes and roots. Ryan knelt and pushed aside the branches. The entrance was dark, but he could see a wooden box inside. He carefully climbed in and examined the box. It was sturdy, covered with dust and dirt. Ryan took a deep breath and opened it. Inside the box, he found the most important evidence. There were letters, photographs, and documents carefully preserved. Some were written by police officers, others by local people who had witnessed the strange events. There were also personal items belonging to the missing man: his watch, a notebook, and a bundle of letters. Ryan felt a wave of emotion. He was holding the story that had been hidden for decades. He spread the documents on the ground and began reading. The letters described the missing man's fear and determination. He had discovered something unusual in the forest, something that people had tried to hide. The photographs showed strange figures and shadows, confirming the mysterious events reported in the notebooks. Ryan realized that the forest had been a place of secrets for years, and the missing man had tried to protect the truth. One photograph caught Ryan's attention. It showed the missing man standing near the old police car looking worried. Behind him, a shadowy figure watched from the trees. Ryan understood that the events had been connected from the beginning. The police car, the cabins, the hidden paths, and the underground chest were all part of a larger story. Ryan carefully examined a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon. They were addressed to the missing man, written by people involved in the investigation. The letters revealed that some people had tried to keep the truth hidden, fearing that it would create problems. Others had tried to find the evidence but failed. The missing man had been careful, leaving clues in multiple locations to ensure that someone would eventually uncover the story. As Ryan read, he realized the importance of what he had found. The forest had been a place of mystery and fear, but now the truth was finally coming to light. The missing man's story, the old police car, the hidden cabin, and the underground chest all formed a complete picture. Ryan felt a sense of accomplishment. He had followed the clues, discovered the hidden paths, and reached the final location. He carefully packed the documents and photographs back into his backpack. The personal items of the missing man he placed in a separate bag. Ryan wanted to preserve everything exactly as it was. He knew that this evidence could finally explain the mysterious events that had taken place in the forest. Before leaving the cave, Ryan looked around one last time. The forest outside was calm and sunlight filtered through the trees. He felt a connection to the missing man and the people who had tried to uncover the truth. Their courage and determination had guided him to this moment. Ryan understood that the forest had chosen him to complete this story. He stepped out of the cave and followed the path back to the cabin. The forest seemed less intimidating now. Ryan had faced its mysteries and discovered the hidden truths. Every tree, stream, and rock along the hidden paths had led him to this point. He felt a sense of peace knowing that he had honored the efforts of those who had come before him. Back at the cabin, Ryan carefully organized the evidence. He placed the documents, photographs, and personal items in order. He studied the notebooks and letters once more, making notes about the connections between the missing man, the police investigation, and the strange events in the forest. Ryan realized that the story was complete. He now had the information needed to reveal the full truth. As the sun set, Ryan stepped outside. The forest glowed with warm colors and shadows stretched across the ground. He felt a sense of closure. The missing man's story had been hidden for decades, but now it was no longer a secret. Ryan had uncovered the evidence, followed the hidden paths, and revealed the connections that had been carefully concealed. He took a deep breath and looked at the forest around him. The trees, streams, and hidden paths had been witnesses to a story of mystery, courage, and determination. Ryan felt proud to have completed the journey. He knew that the evidence he had found could help others understand the events of the past and honor the memory of the missing man. As night fell, Ryan sat by the cabin and looked at the stars. The forest was quiet, and a soft breeze moved through the trees. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The journey had been long and challenging, but he had uncovered the truth. The police car, the hidden cabins, the underground chest, and the hidden paths had all led to this moment. Ryan packed his backpack for the journey home. He carefully secured the documents, photographs, and personal items. He knew that he would share the story with the proper authorities and historians who could preserve it. The forest had revealed its secrets, and Ryan had completed the task. As he walked through the forest one last time, Ryan felt a sense of connection to the missing man and the people who had tried to uncover the truth before him. The forest had tested his courage and determination, but he had succeeded. The hidden mysteries were no longer secrets. Ryan emerged from the forest just as the first light of dawn began to brighten the sky. He looked back at the trees, feeling gratitude for the journey and respect for the hidden truths he had uncovered. The old police car, deep in the woods, had been the first clue, but it had led him to a much larger story, a story of mystery, courage, and the enduring power of truth. With a final glance at the forest, Ryan walked toward the road, carrying the evidence that would finally reveal the story that had been hidden for decades. He felt a sense of accomplishment and hope, knowing that the mysteries of the forest would now be understood and remembered.